This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com.
Alpha Natural Resources. Consistent with its Running Right process, Alpha is an energy company committed to being a leader in mine safety and an environmental steward. We fuel progress around the world. More information at alphanr.com.
Haley Buick GMC, the place for a new Verano or Terrain Denali, on Midlothian Turnpike in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. Taking it to the streets and helping our community. Intelligent Illuminations. We make streetlights smart and give you control, providing secure point-to-point wireless solutions for roadway and area lighting, helping you manage, monitor, and control your streetlights. More information at ilooms.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Information at vachamber.com.
It's amazing what my students with special needs can accomplish. Their pride is priceless. That's why I teach.
Brought to you by the Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond, and a very special welcome back to Secretary of Commerce and Trade, Maurice Jones. Really appreciate your being back. We see you in the news almost constantly, out with the governor, and an economic development announcement here or there. Sometimes I wonder if you've been cloned, and as you appear in different parts of the Commonwealth within the same week. But we appreciate your being on to give us an update about what is happening in your secretariat and your work with the governor. So start at any point you want to. I've got some questions, areas I'll check with you later, but start us off with your comments.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me back. And we're having fun. We're
Great.
14, 15 months into the job. And in terms of what's happening, you are seeing a lot of momentum around economic development projects. So in the first 14, 15 months, we've had 350 plus projects that we've announced. That's to the tune of about $6.44 billion in capital investment in Virginia. That's the largest number on record of any governor. It's actually, in that same time period, it's actually double any other governor in that same time period, and it's combined greater than the previous two governors in that same time period. So that's happening. In addition to that, we've had a number of major changes that we're making to our workforce development system. Talent is the #1 economic development strategy, aspiration, or tool, if you will. And so we're trying to make some changes there. We had a really good General Assembly session last year where we, with the ultimate aspiration being, look, while we're graduating folks with BAs and MAs and PhDs, let's make sure that we put just as much emphasis on equipping our students, our workers, with the right certifications in information technology and healthcare, apprenticeships, et cetera. We had a number of pieces of legislation that, if you will, helped us in that journey. We had a nice session last year with respect to energy. We've got a solar development authority in Virginia for the first time, which will help us hopefully catalyze growth in the solar development. We just announced the offshore wind lease that Dominion and its partners have.
Right. Yes.
So lots of good things going on in the energy space. All in all, I'd tell you we're excited. We've got good momentum. We've got plenty of work to do, but we're looking forward to it.
You know, it's been quite interesting and delightful to see the number of the economic developments that have come into areas where there is greater unemployment.
Ah, yes.
And whether
Yes.
it's in South Side or Southwest.
Yes.
And I think that they're not all coming to parts of the Commonwealth that have been doing relatively well.
No, that's absolutely right. You know, the Commonwealth has an incredible opportunity right now. We're now as attractive as any place in the country, and I would venture to you in the world, for manufacturing and advanced manufacturing in particular. And what that means is, with respect to the playing field in the Commonwealth, every region is attractive. Yeah. Every region is attractive. The combination of the wage differentials between us and China getting smaller, if you will, our ability to provide really low-cost, reliable, and consistent energy is a great opportunity, if you will. Virginia's strategic location anywhere in Virginia to access the North American market is making Virginia all over a really, really great place to attract advanced manufacturing and manufacturing enterprises. And so that's why you're seeing, we were in Bristol, Virginia last week, late last week, to make an announcement there. We've been in Grayson County 2 or 3 times in these 15 months. We were in Greensville 2 weeks before that to announce a solar development project. So you're right. You're seeing that the entire Commonwealth is, if you will, attracting both expansions and new firms to come in, and that's good jobs and hopefully good paying jobs.
Yes, and I was on your website, and one of the things I was finding that I knew nothing about, and I don't know how many of our viewers know, and you can tease them with some of the information that's available, but something about the governor having a business plan competition.
Yes.
And what really got my attention as I started counting the zeros, it looked like $1 million,
$1 million. That's correct.
In prizes.
That's correct.
That will be awarded.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more information being rolled out, but what can you tell us right now?
All right, well, I won't spoil it, but I'll tell you a little
yes.
bit. But you're right, it's a business plan competition with $1 million prize that we have at the state level. What we've done is, first, the governor picked entrepreneurism as one of the top 5 priorities for the new Virginia economy. And so what we're trying to do is to make sure that Virginia is not only the best place for businesses, but it's also the best place to launch a business. And what we're doing with this business plan competition is we're gonna try to really focus attention on the ecosystem for entrepreneurs in Virginia. The business plan competition picks 4 sectors that we're going to invite people from all over the world to submit business plans in. Social entrepreneurism, information technology, agribusiness, and then we picked one, energy. So those are the 4 areas we chose for this competition this time around. We're going to invite entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, to put business plans in, and then we're going to judge those business plans. And we anticipate this culminating somewhere around September. As I say, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but the idea is get businesses in strategic key areas launched in Virginia and focus the public and private sector in Virginia on how good are we for entrepreneurs and what do we need to do to make it unambiguous that we're the best place for entrepreneurs to be. That's what this business.
We're going to be sending people, encouraging them to go to your website.
Please do.
You know, not right now while they're watching the show, but we're going to put that address up so they can see it. And when they go to your main website, over on the right-hand side is on that main page is where you can then click on and you can You can read what you just told us, and I'm sure that'll be the site as more information is.
Yes, and we're going to be doing a number of things around social media and other using other forms of media to get the word out as well. But yes, that's the place to send people for now.
Yes. Well, that's certainly some exciting competition, and I know that even as the Commonwealth is known as the place to come and do business around the world, this will attract a whole new group of people.
Yeah, and we want to make it clear that people should not have to go to Austin, Texas, or Silicon Valley, or Chicago to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. They can do it right here in Virginia. And in fact, we want them to come here to Virginia as well to pursue that. And so we've got to make sure we've got both the substance and the marketing around this entrepreneurial piece, and that's what we're working on now.
Now, looking at the 13 different boards, agencies, or departments that are in your secretariat, there's a significant number of them that have to do with economic development, whether it's tourism or the Economic Development Partnership. But there's another whole side of your secretariat that has to do with business and with trade.
Oh, yes.
Help our viewers get a view of that, even without going on your website and seeing the list of 13 that's there.
Yeah. Well, trade is a huge part of what we do. And in fact, if people visited the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, they would see that a big piece of it is international trade. So we focus a lot of time on helping Virginia's businesses access the international marketplace. So here's a data point for you. 95% of consumers in the world live outside of the United States. 80% of the purchasing power in the world is outside of the U.S. So if we want to help Virginia businesses expand and grow jobs and grow wages, we have to be in the business of helping them access international markets. And so we spend a lot of time. Last year alone, the Economic Development Partnership took 220 plus businesses to 20 plus countries, trying to help them cement relationships that would end up being enhancing their ability to sell their products, sell their services to consumers outside of the U.S. Those companies increased their sales in that 12-month period by 92%. So trade works. It works for what we're trying to do, which is help our businesses expand and then help them expand the number of jobs, help them become healthier, if you will, when it comes to the balance sheet. Trade is a key strategy within that we're trying to be aggressive about. In addition to that, you know the governor and I and others have been going to different countries all over the globe now, trying to make sure that everybody knows the Virginia story. And so we've been to China twice, we were in Korea, we were in England, we're headed to Europe pretty soon within the next 2 or 3 months. We'll have another trip later on in the year. It's economic development, it's a contact sport. And so we're trying to make sure that we're out there and we're letting folks know that this is the place for them to be considered.
And in our own hemisphere, perhaps before too long, there will be trips even to Cuba.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah,
opening up another opportunity for partnership.
Absolutely. And I should also mention, so tourism, you mentioned tourism, huge economic development driver in Virginia. In fact, we've got numbers that show that tourists spend about $21.5 billion in Virginia. That supports about 213,000 jobs. That revenue generates income for state and local government to the tune of about $1.4 billion a year. This is all annual. That money is used for schools, et cetera, where our biggest source of tourism is Canada. Canada sends about 650,000 folks. About 650,000 folks a year come from Canada. So, you know, when we're out and abroad on these economic development trips, tourism is a big piece of it. And so, going back to your original point, the Secretariat is Commerce and Trade. Yes. You cannot divorce the two. The two, in terms of trying to build a diverse economy that's sustainable and resilient in Virginia, you have to have both.
And I know, while it's not your secretariat, that you do a lot of work with agriculture and forestry. Absolutely. And as far as, again, commerce and trade.
Absolutely. Ag and forestry are two of the key sectors in Virginia that, that enable growth, and they particularly enable growth in those parts of the Commonwealth that you and I were referencing earlier. Rural parts of the Commonwealth, and they are stable parts of the economy. And we just last year eclipsed in trade, when it comes to ag, $3.5 billion, the largest trade we've had, exports in ag in the history. And the governor will tell you it makes us second in the Southeast, and we're going to be #1 before he leaves office. That's the aspiration.
Second's not enough.
Second's not good enough.
No, that's not enough. Not enough. Now, you mentioned workforce development. If we go back for that just a moment. Sure. What, 2015, moving forward, what's the area you'd say that's the biggest challenge, the biggest opportunity for us in our workforce development in the Commonwealth?
So I was alluding to that. So if you look at our data, we believe that in the next decade, Virginia will have about 1,500,000 jobs to fill. We think almost 1 million of those will be from retirements and from people moving outside of the Commonwealth. Why they would make that mistaken choice, I don't know, but right. It happens, right? The other 500,000 we think will be new jobs. Our estimates, though, and this is the epiphany for me, are that 50 to 65% of those jobs will not require a 4-year degree. That will not be the training that gives you the competencies you need to do those jobs. Instead, what you'll need is the right license, the right certification, the right apprenticeship. And so that's where we're focusing all of our attention, or at least that's what we're prioritizing, because that's the opportunity. The opportunity is, right now in Virginia, if you look at the workforce, we've got 165,000 or so people in the workforce with business-demanded certifications and licenses. We think that to be the best, the undisputed best in the country, we need at least 10% of our workforce with those certifications in the next 10 to 15 years. So our goal, and what we hope to be doing during our time in office, is putting Virginia on the path so that in 2030 we can say Virginia has 500,000 workers in the workforce today with certifications and licenses and apprenticeship credentials that businesses demand in healthcare, in IT, and in manufacturing. That's the sweet spot. That's the real opportunity. That's where the jobs are. And by the way, these are good, middle-class paying jobs and above. We just got to get our workers prepared for them. And these are the jobs of the 21st century. Whenever we talk to employers, 9 times out of 10, they come back with this request. If you want me to expand in Virginia or you want me to come, you have to show me, prove to me that you've got the workforce that I need. And the workforce that I need, 50 to 65% of them, are the ones with the credentials that I just articulated. So that's where we're, if you look at all the moves that we're making around workforce, it's trying to get people more skilled in trades and the technical pieces and STEM and healthcare. Because that's where the jobs are. That's where the good paying jobs are.
You know, I'm aware of what's being done in the secondary school level. I'm aware of the community colleges and their work. And I was thinking, as you were laying that out about the percentage in the future that would be for certification, that our folks in higher ed ought to be paying attention to this as well, because in their STEM programs, to have programs that would, where someone could be even at one of our so-called flagship universities or our private colleges where they could come out with some certification.
Absolutely.
As possibly at the same time with a degree, but to have the certification.
You are absolutely right. And the community colleges clearly
they're doing that. Yes.
Yeah, they're doing this. This is right in their sweet spot. But our four-year institutions do this as well. So if you look at our four-year institutions, they all have some form of continuing education programs, for example. And those continuing education programs for years have been doing this very thing. So they're already in that business. Our suggestion is we've got to get them more into it, and they need it and we need it. And so they're with us. We've been in conversation with all of them.
That's great.
Yeah,
it's going to be needed.
This, if we could only do one thing, right? If we couldn't do anything else, this would be the one that I would tell you we should do. Because at the end of the day, the most important ingredient to growth, economic growth, is talent. It's not, this is not rocket science, so to speak. It's talent. And so our job is prepare the talent for the opportunities of the 21st century, and they will come. And so this one really is the one we need to be great at.
Now, if someone does go on your website, as I'm sure they will, they'll see housing and community development, labor and industry, mines, minerals and energy, professional occupation and regulation, Virginia Indemnification Community Revitalization Commission, and all of those. We have just a few more minutes. What's another area of your portfolio that you would?
So let's talk about housing. Housing, we have chosen 3 priorities that we think are critical. One is we need to eliminate homelessness in Virginia. Virginia is one of the wealthiest states in the Union. We can eliminate homelessness. And we have chosen to put out there as our first aspiration, eliminating veterans' homelessness by the end of this year. And we're working hard at that, and we're going to be successful. But we also need to make sure that housing and economic development are closely related. And we also need to make sure that Virginia really takes care of its citizens who need housing plus services, seniors, citizens with disabilities. So those are areas that we're focusing on. You mentioned mines, minerals, and energy. Well, all of the energy stuff that we talked about is really being done in that department, and that's a critical department because energy is a real big already asset within Virginia, and what we believe the opportunity is to diversify the energy resources and assets that we have. And then you mentioned labor and what they call DPOR. These are areas where we have a number of, if you will, regulatory responsibilities and aspirations. And there we want to just make sure that we're contributing to the growth of the economy by having smart but lean regulations. And so those are 2 agencies that are really involved in the work that we're doing there.
And at the bottom of that list of 13, you see Virginia Israel Advisory Board, which in a way that could be in tourism, a way that could be economic development, but
it's primarily in the economic development space. And what you'll see is that body is helping us forge relationships with companies who are currently based in Israel, who are looking for places in North America at least to expand. And so they have helped us with a number of opportunities, and we are planning a visit pretty soon to Israel to, again, bring the Virginia message and to attempt to recruit jobs and businesses to the Commonwealth.
You know, on your website, I've got to read this quote. It's a quote from the governor that you have there, and I'm sure that that's the move. He says, "Take risk, be bold. We cannot hope to accomplish great things if we're not willing to take chances. Our economy demands it, and the future of the Commonwealth depends on it.
No question.
I think that's looks like that's your marching orders that you
Those
keep
are
right,
my orders, yes.
Keep right up there on the website, and we appreciate your being on This Week in Richmond, and we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com.
Alpha Natural Resources, a leader in mine safety and an environmental steward.
Haley Buick GMC in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. Intelligent Illuminations, helping you manage, monitor, and control your streetlights. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community.
The Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.